imagine now having a child and you can put an X as non-specified. You don't have to choose a gender. Or if you came out of your mom's womb as a man or a woman, you can now change that birth certificate to an X as non-specified. They are trying to do away with gender. What God originated from the beginning of time, male and female. Because I have the gift of gab, I am going to stick to my notes because now I have taken more of my time by just doing that little short intro. But I thought it was important that I do so. So you understand, as a woman who had lived the lesbian life for so long, and now God's redemption, and the devil should have killed me a long time ago because now I'm a force to be reckoned with. Amen. Again, my name is Janet Boynes, and I'm so honored to be here with you today to share my thoughts as to why it's urgent that you take charge over your child's life. I also want to encourage you in the important role that you play in their lives so you aren't easily shaken in the faith when the world pressures them to conform. I know I'm not an expert in parenting because I've never been a mom. But because I am a spiritual mom to many, what I do know is what is taking place in the schools and in the homosexual community, and why you as parents should be concerned. I lived the lesbian life for 14 years, and now I can see why my same-sex attraction were a result of the abuse I endured as a child. I'm that girl. I was raised in a family of 7 kids with 4 different fathers. I watched my mother get abused and then became the abuser. I have adapted the behavior because I had no one to help me understand how my traumatic experience of abuse and rape affected me. My life was being shaped by my early experiences. And because of the physical and sexual abuse, I grew up to hate men. I made an internal declaration. I made a vow. I would never live the life that my mother lived. A man will never hit me. I would never marry a black man because I associated black men with abuse and rape because that's what I saw as a child. And I would never have kids out of wedlock because with them 4 fathers, I have many half-brothers and sisters. And that I didn't want for me. And that's not a bad thing. See, making that vow crippled my walk, crippled my relationships, and pushed me into a place where I never thought I would go. Moms, I want you to imagine your child living in the same home that you're living in, never telling you that they were molested or they were raped from the age of 13 till they were 30. However, what was my demise is now my voice. The National Institution of Health, I read an article saying 85% of lesbian women have been sexually assaulted. 60% of gay men reported childhood sexual assault. We need to take responsibility as to how our children turn out. As moms, you have to be careful as to what you say around your kids and what you do because they are so impressionable. If the moral and intellectual upbringing of children is not a priority, what is? Mothers and fathers are assigned by God with the task of moral and intellectual information. You see, we've heard this scripture time and time again, Proverbs 22:6. And sometimes I think we just say it out of saying it, but you got to get this in your heart. If you train up your child in the way he or she should go, when they get older, they won't depart. It is our responsibility as to how our kids turn out. But there are many forces in society that are after the hearts and minds of every one of our children. The rights of parents to direct the upbringing and education of their children are fundamental to the family and to a healthy culture. Our children are becoming confused because they are being directed by teachers, counselors, to attend gay straight alliance groups which are after-school homosexual clubs. At these clubs, they are learning that they can choose a different gender from the one they were born with, and we need to accept their sexuality. There are many books for children on transgender and homosexuality that are filling our classrooms and library shelves. The homosexual activists are telling kids that they were born that way and they can't change. That is a lie from the pit of hell. I am living proof. There's thousands of men and women like myself, by the grace of God, have walked out of that life and are living a heterosexual life. But the education establishment does not want you to hear our stories. You ever ask yourself why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. What they are trying to do is indoctrinate our kids, which will harm them and turn them from the way they were taught. You need to challenge the homosexual activists by asking them to show you evidence that they were born that way. There's no scientific evidence. It doesn't exist. There is a battle that is waging today for the minds and souls of our children. The battle is taking place in our schools, and because of what they're being taught, sadly, there are many more ex-Christians in a homosexual lifestyle than there are Christians who have come out. If we continue out of ignorance and fear and withhold hope, we will continue losing our little ones to the worldly deception. We will never be able to make a difference in the lives of our children unless we offer them a realistic alternative way out. We cannot continue to lose our children to the transgender or the homosexual movement. At the age of 4, kids are taking hormones to prepare to transition to another gender because they are being told by their parents, by society, it is okay to switch from boy to girl and girl to boy. When did the child become the adult? You need to ask yourself, if you allow your child to transition, and later in life, they change their mind, then what? Our kids cannot get a driver's license till they're 16, but we will give them permission to change their God-given gender. Until my last breath, I will fight for the Patricks in the world. I will stand up for righteousness and right standing with God. When it comes to treating children with gender dysphoria, who should decide if they transition? Their parents or the state? In Canada, 2019 of March, the Supreme Court of British Columbia has just ordered that 14-year-old girls who identify as a trans boy must be allowed to receive testosterone injections without parental consent. And if their parent if her parents refer to her with female pronouns, or if the parent refers to him as a male pronoun, or address her by her birth name, or address him by his birth name, confusing, isn't it? I can barely get it out. The court said they will be considered guilty of family violence. That is happening here in the United States, so it's time for us to become knowledgeable, because when you know better, you do better. Our kids are able to tell counselors at school that they want to transition or they want to be a homosexual from girl to boy or boy to girl. But if we say as a parent, as a mom, like my mom would say over my dead body, you can lose your parental rights and your child can be taken away. The law is no longer on our side. I want to hold you accountable, parents. I want to hold you accountable, moms. Do you know what homosexual books are in your kids' school? When is the last time you looked at your child's cell phone apps Is there a calculator that pornography is behind it? There's so many apps that kids are using to hide things from their parents. Are you following them on social media? Do you know who their friends are? Do you know where they're spending their time? The Lord has given you, mothers, power and authority to fight for your children. Moms, if you stand together, you can overturn these ridiculous laws that are being passed and that are saying that you cannot get counseling for your gay child because they were born that way. It is vital that you become informed about homosexuality and how to speak intelligently to those pushing the agenda as well as to your own children. Let's face it, your parental rights are being taken away and you are being silenced. The church has lost its voice. The problem is, in my opinion, is that the concerns of Christian parents are not being addressed because of the continual, unrelenting firestorms that the church institution receives from the culture, from the state, and from the media. The LGBT activists will not attack church if they accept their gay lifestyle or are made of people who belong to any of the protected groups who together make up the postmodern victim class. It's no surprise that the church and our nation desperately need to hear the voice crying in the wilderness to awaken, convict, and restore. As Christians, we must regularly choose between our earthly desires and our faith. But following Jesus will always cost you something. Jesus said to his disciples in Matthew 16:24, "Whoever wants to be my disciples must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me." I wanted to encourage you to claim your role as the primary educator, protector of your children. Use your parental rights to direct the course of your child's education in every possible way. They must be your priority. In many ways, our nation future is in jeopardy because we are being taught In many ways, our nation future is in jeopardy because of what we are being taught regarding homosexuality. Traditional truth and morality are being replaced with selfish and sexual pleasure, and parents, you can put a stop to it. Mothers are powerful. They have a powerful influence in their child's life. Abraham Lincoln once said, "All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my angel mom." As mothers, you have a responsibility to be faithful. Teach your children God's truth and scriptures, because this is what will keep the family together. Satan is after what is near and dear to God's heart, the family. But we can make a difference. You can make a difference. We need to stand up to the tides of worldliness before our children and grandchildren get washed away. My prayer for each and every one of us, that someday you will be able to say what the Apostle John said in 3 John 1:4, "I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in truth." Thank you.